Charge win 5-1 over the Vancouver Goldeneyes. What is up, everybody? It is your local Ottawa fan, and that is much more like it. That team looked like Walter Cup finalists, right? So I said in my last video that I wanted to wait and see before I just pushed the panic button over one bad game. That, you know, this is a league with a lot of parity. And I think this game really proved that. On paper, everyone said the Goldeneyes were supposed to beat us by like a score of 5-1. We beat them, and we did so in convincing fashion. This game wasn't all that close, if we're being honest with ourselves. All game, we were the better team. And we fully, the team that won this game is the team that deserved to win this game. And they won by an amount of goals that, frankly, they deserved to win by. Up and down the score sheet, we just were better. And I don't think that this invalidates anyone who thinks that the Goldeneyes are the best team in the league. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I will continue to say it. This league is a league of parity. So I want to talk, before we get into the game, a little bit about the offseason and expansion as a whole. There was, admittedly, a lot of drama, controversy even, over the expansion draft rules. That it was way too easy for the expansion draft teams. The expansion teams just got all the best players. And we did lose some key pivotal pieces due to both expansion and also just the offseason as a whole. You know, like Ashton Bell, that wasn't expansion. That was just free agency. Right? Or no, Bell was expansion. Who am I thinking? Fanny Shova. We lost a lot of key players. Some to expansion and some to just free agency. And I was worried, but I also thought, you know what? Let's see. We still have Phillips. We still have a good chunk of our top six. We were never a team that scored a whole bunch. On occasion we did. Let's see if the team chemistry can still be there. Tonight it was. And the lines that you want to see clicking and the players that you want to see working well together, they did. I think, yes, on paper, the Goldeneyes have probably the best roster in the league. And I thought going into season one that on paper, Ottawa had the best team in the league. Far and away, on paper. And in practice, they missed the playoffs. I think that the gap between first and worst in this league is maybe the smallest compared to any other league. Even other leagues that are small. You know, is it sample size? Oh, well, if they play 30 games. Yeah, but look at the NFL. Look at the CFL. Football leagues that play 17, 18 games. You take the worst NFL team, you put them against the best NFL team, it's not a question, not only of who's going to win, but that it's going to be a blowout, that the game's going to be done by halftime. Same with the CFL. I cheer for, if you want, you could watch an entire season's worth of me watching and reacting to and analyzing the worst team in the league. They looked like the worst team in the league. Night in and night out. They looked significantly weaker compared to their opposition. And in the PWHL, the worst team in the league looks like they are like 2-3 pieces away from contending for the Walter Cup. The parity in this league is very high. And I mean it. I think that the New York Sirens are a legitimate Walter Cup contender this year. And they were dead last year. I think every team is a legitimate Walter Cup contender until at least 10 games into the season, where you're starting to see, okay, who's struggling a bit more than others. It could be anybody. It really could be anybody who wins the Walter Cup this year. So no, I don't think that this is a gift-wrapped Seattle versus Vancouver final. I don't think that Vancouver has been handed a Walter Cup championship. I really don't. I think that the parity in this league is a lot stronger than some people anticipated. And I think that's part of why, it felt like the draft was so unfair, the expansion draft, because, oh, look at all the great players they're getting. Yeah, because there's a lot of teams with a lot of depth. And even though they have, like, a bunch of star players, we still have, like, all probably roughly the same amount of star power. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that. I think that as the league grows, because I did see reports that, they're expanding potentially another 2 teams at the end of this season, and potentially another 2 after that. Now, obviously, the expansion rules will be different. I do not think that Seattle and Vancouver are going to be given a grace for the expansion draft. They shouldn't. They better not. Because every other Original 6 team was only 2 years into their existence when all of a sudden they got hit with an expansion draft. So why should Vancouver and Seattle all of a sudden, oh no, you're too new. We're all too new. We're all like brand new teams. So if there's another expansion draft, it wouldn't be across 6 teams. It'd be across 8. I think the most fair way to do expansion is the 4 teams that make the playoffs, assuming that it's 4-4. But at the very least, the 4 teams that make the semifinals lose, 4 players, and the 4 that don't lose 3 only. And by the time we have a 10-team league, simple. The 2 new teams get to take 1 player per team. And then they will have 1 or 2 players at most. No, 1 player, 10. 12 players in the first expansion draft, right? That's how many you got. 2 players per team. 2 from Ottawa, 2 from Boston, 2 from Montreal, 2 from New York, 2 from Minnesota, 2 from Toronto. 12 players. So when it's a 10-team league and 2 expansion teams come in, you'd get to take 1 player per team. So you'd be only losing 2. And teams are going to build around that knowledge, I'm sure. My bigger concern with rebuilding has less, or not rebuilding, sorry. My bigger concern with expansion has less to do with, the expansion draft, and just more to do with, don't get too big too fast and spread ourselves too thin. Like I said, there's a lot of talent. I think that every team has roughly the same amount of talent, and the talent pool is deep. You don't want to thin it out, and then every team only has, 2 or 3 stars. I think right now, if I were to list off the top of my head some bona fide stars on the Ottawa Charge, I'd say Phillips, I'd say Clark, I'd say Jenner, I'd say Hughes, I'd say, I don't think I'd say Gilday yet, because she's not a bona fide star in the league yet, but she probably will be. I definitely would say Savalainen. I definitely would say Larocque. I'd say, who am I missing? I see, Mrazova. I'd even say that McMahon and Leslie are starting to enter that territory, but we could leave them off, and I'd still say that's 7 star players. That's good. That's really good. And I think that every team could probably name 7, at least really, really, really good to superstar level players on their roster right now. That's good for the league. That's good for every team. The fact that the Ottawa Charge, they need to decide, the 3-player jerseys that they heavily advertise, and it's tough. It's Clark, Jenner, and Phillips, but it could just as easily be Hughes, Mrazova, Savalainen, and if I said that those were the 3, it wouldn't even feel that out of place. You could realistically see a world where any of them are the star. That's good. And again, I think just about every team could do this. So don't spread it too thin, and also let the fan bases that currently exist continue to grow. That was one reason why I loved Ottawa being an Original 16. It gives us the opportunity to grow this fan base both here and outside of Ottawa. To be that, it used to be that other Canadian team, and now, of course, there's Vancouver. But, there are going to be fans in Canada who don't want to cheer for Toronto or Montreal for, the reasons of, oh, I don't like the Leafs, oh, I don't like the Habs. Like, for example, Bruins fans. If you're a Bruins fan living in Canada, but you do want to cheer for a Canadian team, we're right here. We will embrace you. We hate Toronto and Montreal just as much as you. Don't worry, it's okay. If we expand too much too fast, then every fan base, I think, will be pretty centralized just in that one location. But this is, being a little nitpicky. And speaking of nitpicky, just another off-season thing that I have to mention. It is a rare PWHL. Getting rid of the coaches challenge is not a good idea. And I have to say it. Somebody has to criticize it. It's not a good idea. Just because, look, if the issue is that it's taking too long, that won't change if it's the refs challenging it. They should be challenging things that should be challenged. And coaches' challenges that take too long are coaches' challenges that are worth challenging because there's reason to believe that the wrong call was made. Enough reason that it's taking a really long time to make a final decision. Just put a time limit. That's my solution. Put a 2-3 minute time limit. Once a coach's challenge has been called, there you go. And the second you are talking with headquarters, a 2-minute timer begins. And if the timer expires and you still have not conclusively come to a decision, just call it inconclusive. Part of sport is human error. That's why we watch. If we wanted to watch a game of perfect robots playing a sport, we wouldn't be going to PWHL games. We wouldn't. If it's something that is obvious that was missed and the coach challenges and it's pretty immediately overturned because, that was blatant goalie interference, great. If it's a little unclear and the 2 minutes are up, the solution is just that you don't charge them the delay of game penalty. You say it was inconclusive, and since it was inconclusive, we're not going to charge you a penalty because, fair enough, you might have been right. Now, would that risk them challenging even more often because the risk of a penalty is lowered if you get it wrong? Well, not if they find conclusive evidence that you're wrong, right? Like, that could still happen. And maybe make it that the first time you do it, no penalty. If twice you do a coach's challenge and both times the 2 minutes go without a conclusive decision being made, the second time you get a penalty. Basically, you got one free pass. But if you challenge and it is obvious that the right call was made, no, you're still getting hit with the delay of game, whether or not it's your first coach's challenge. That's my solution, at least. So that was just my sidebar, things that happened in the offseason that I needed to mention. The game was a great game. It was the kazoo game. Look at this. Beautiful. And being there reminded me of just how special the PWHL is. I gotta show this. They are selling PWHL cards at the Charge game, and they're selling them at a better price than the stores that I've gone to. So I'm getting ready to just really expand my card collection. I can't wait. Look at this. Alina Mueller. I was opening my cards, and somebody walks by, says, "Hey, can I see if you got any of mine?" It was the person who takes pictures for Upper Deck, and this one right here, it was a picture that they took at an Ottawa Charge game. How cool is that? What other league do you get to have an interaction like that, where you get to meet the person who took the picture of the hockey card that I now get to bring home and talk about? Look at this, come on. How is that not the coolest thing? How is this not the best community? Not just the best team, the best, the league community is so great. It's the perfect amount even of friendly banter. That's another reason why I do quite enjoy the CFL. Because some leagues, especially the bigger leagues, the line between friendly banter and mean-spiritedness gets blurred. And it gets blurred easily sometimes. And in the PWHL, I really feel look, there's still some trash talk. Don't get me wrong. but like it still feels like nobody's crossing the line yet. And that's something that, I don't want to see. Like, I've been somebody who is a huge, I love rivalries in sports. I love hating the other fan base. But at the same time, you need to understand that the hate still needs to come from a place of mutual love. Like, I hate Leafs fans. But somebody starts talking about how hockey isn't a real sport, I'm going to stand side by side with Leafs and Habs fans and say, what did you just say, buddy? What did you just say? No, you got to sit down. You got to watch some hockey because clearly you don't know how great this sport is. And sadly, some leagues just don't have that level of camaraderie that I feel the PWHL does have. That most fans are kind of in agreement of where we want this league to go. Even if some are like, oh, we don't want rivalries at all, and some are like me, and I'm like, rivalries are the best part of sports, we still have an agreement of like, it should have this sense of community. That is awesome. Somebody asked me at the game about my videos. Like, again, the sense of community in the PWHL, and especially with the Ottawa Charge, is unmatched. Unmatched. I love this team so much, so much. This team better not leave this year. I'm telling you, like, I'm not happy with Lansdowne 2.0 either, but relocation is not the answer. But I've already talked about it, and I can't keep talking about it or I'm going to lose my mind. Let's talk about the game. I feel like I've spent this whole time not even talking about the game. The game's what you're here for. Early in the game, real early, 5-minute major. This is back-to-back games where Ottawa's given an early 5-minute major power play. This time, they capitalize. Brianne Jenner with a snipe on the power play. She shoots, she scores, 1-0 Ottawa. This time the goal stands. No question about it. And from that point, like early in the game, Ottawa is just laying it on thick. The shots in the first period were 4 for Vancouver to 12 for Ottawa. It was all Ottawa throughout the entire first period. Just pure dominance. We don't score another goal in the 5-on-5 OT, but we get all the momentum, and we do not let it go. We dominate until the very end of the period, where we do take a penalty, and we ran into a little bit of penalty trouble, but like nothing crazy. And it's a good kill. It's a really good kill in my opinion. And, that's how the period ends. We have like 4 seconds left on the penalty kill, but, we kill it off relatively easily. And the second period is a bit more even. Shots in the second were 8 for Vancouver to 15 for Ottawa. So again, we're now not tripling them in shots. We're more doubling, but I felt Vancouver's play had elevated. Their best period for Vancouver was certainly the third period. But, you could see as the period was going, as the game went on, each period they got more and more into the game. But still, we, through 2 periods, thoroughly dominated. What has been an issue in the past? That we would thoroughly dominate and we wouldn't give ourselves enough insulation, enough of a lead. Well, very end of the period is starting to favor Vancouver, and then in their own zone, Vancouver gives it away, and we see a work of art, a thing of beauty. Markowski to Hughes, who sets up Manon McMahon perfectly. She does not miss. Make no mistake, that's a goal, 2-0, and after that, the rest of the period is all Ottawa. I cannot emphasize how good the Jenner, Meitzner, Leslie line was the whole game, and especially at the end of this period and in the third period. At the end of the second period, it was a miracle it wasn't 3-0. But going into the third, I was actually confident with 2-0. I'm like, this team's playing pretty well. That turnover in Vancouver's end for just a great series of passes that leads to a goal. I felt so bad for Maschmeyer, who's back in Ottawa, and the same thing is happening. But this time, she's playing against the Ottawa Charge. And what is happening? Her team is leaving her out to dry. She's getting completely peppered with shots. Her team is doing nothing. Throughout the first 2 periods, shots were, 27-12. 27-12. 2-0. She did everything she could. Again, this felt like an inverse of the game we had against the Sirens, where, we just got completely outplayed, completely outshot. Phillips did everything she could, and didn't matter. She had no support, and they lost big. This time, Phillips had nothing but support. Our defense was great. It never collapsed. Consistently great defensive plays all game. Rory Gilday had herself a game. She got her first 2 PWHL points this game, and defensively, I noticed her. I also want to mention just so many other players who had all around great games. Our defense was great. Phillips had a save percentage of 947 compared to 882 for Maschmeyer, which Maschmeyer had a really good game. And again, the save percentage really doesn't reflect just how good she played. But Phillips, look, this was an average game for her. She faced 19 shots. She made 18 saves. She played great, and she wasn't even one of the 3 stars because, this is just a regular Wednesday night for Gwyneth Phillips. You can mean making 18 saves on 19 shots. She just calls that Wednesday. But the team in front of her delivered, showed up, scored, and then scored again, and then kept scoring until Vancouver couldn't get back into it. And that line that I told you about, Leslie got robbed right at the end of the second period. So she says, "I'll take that goal, thank you very much." She shoots, she scores the third period almost immediately in a heartbeat. It starts with the Rebecca Leslie hometown hero goal. Mann and McMahon score, Rebecca Leslie score. And they are going to be having a talk at Ottawa University tomorrow. I mean, the vibes are immaculate. The vibes per 60 right now are through the roof. And then we take a penalty. Some would argue that, this penalty or that penalty this game wasn't warranted or was a little soft. I'm not going to complain about the penalties. I think they were fine. What were they soft? Maybe, but honestly, I do think they were fine. I'm biased. Yeah, come on. We do our best. Throughout the game, we had a second period penalty that we killed. The first period penalty I told you about. This, we get a penalty in the third that we kill, and by our fourth penalty, yeah. I mean, you can't take 4 penalties and expect to get a shutout. Okay, 3-1 with about, 13 minutes left. But Vancouver's playing better, like I said. Third period's their best period. Well, Anna Meitzner, as Vancouver's getting momentum back, she pops the 4-1 goal, and that puts this game away. That's really when it's over. We do take another penalty in the third, and this is the one that, we kill. We kill it with a jailbreak goal. Somebody call ACDC jailbreak in Ottawa. Again, inverse of our Sirens game, where an empty net jailbreak goal is what really just seals it. An empty net jailbreak goal by who else? Brianne Jenner, 2 goals and 3 points on the night. Crowds chanting her name at the end of the game. Just beautiful, just amazing to see. 5-1. Dominant win. Outshot our opponents. This is a real statistic. Outshot the Vancouver Goldeneyes 35-19. First team to defeat the Vancouver Goldeneyes. It doesn't get much better than that. Our defense was substantially better than last game. Our offense was so much more consistent. Night and day. Like I said, you never know what to expect. And I don't know what to expect. Next game, it's a new game. I want more of this. I'll see what we get. If we only get 2 goals and a 2-0 win, I'll be happy. I'd like to see another 5 goals, obviously. The offense was clicking, and the lines of Clark, Hughes, and McMahon, and Leslie, Meitzner, and Jenner look great. That is a legit top 6. I don't want to call it the best top 6 in the league. I don't think it is. But do I think that they can hang with the best? Certainly I do. Great game. Yeah, great game. Oh, I called the first episode Welcome Back to the Roller Coaster. We started with a dip. Now we're going right back up. I love this team. I love this league. I love this city. And as always, go Ottawa, go!